Hi ladies, my name is Sandy and I'm called and I'm sent. I was called at the young age of 10 years of age. My father had made a career out of being in the Navy. My two sisters and I lived with my mom and my grandmother in a very small house in Monroe. When my father come home from the Navy, we knew that my dad had lived a pretty rough life and that continued. But we had a gentleman in our community that kept sharing his faith with my dad. And at one point, my dad came to know Jesus Christ as his Savior and Lord. His life was totally changed. He loved to witness and to share his faith. It was a Saturday night that I clearly remember. I was sitting in the living room. My dad was sharing with my grandmother. The black and white TV was on. This will tell my age, but there was a show on TV called Have Gun Will Travel. My dad was sharing, and I remember him saying to my grandmother, unless you have personally invited Jesus Christ into your heart, into your life, that is the point you're born again. Those words kept staying, and when my dad quit talking to my grandmother, I went over to my dad and I said, Daddy, I have not ever personally invited Jesus Christ into my heart as my Savior and Lord, and I want to do that. That night, around 9:30, my dad led me to the Lord. The first thing I wanted to do was to make sure my two sisters knew the Lord also. I remember going into the kitchen and I shared with both of them what had just happened because I wanted them to come to know the Lord also. As I grew up, I met a wonderful man named John. We married. We have 3 grown children now. His mother came to live with us, and I am one of those people that was so blessed. I had a godly mother-in-law that I loved with all my heart. We did things together. We enjoyed visiting seniors, and she lived in her home. We had someone come in and take care of her during the day as I worked and John worked. I directed a child care center for 15 years of my life. I love working with preschool children. In this center, I was able to share Bible stories and pray with the children and pray with the families. When that period of time was over, I became a part of an assisted living, and I worked there for 14 years. I loved working with the seniors. I loved sitting down and hearing them. At that time, I too was allowed to share my faith at that assisted living, and I prayed with many of our residents. In the last 2 months, I have retired, and I must say I was very apprehensive about retiring. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with myself, but oh, how grateful I am that I am retired. My ministry is with my husband, with my grown children, my daughter-in-law, with my grandchildren. I love being with them. I love cooking for them. I also thoroughly enjoy preparing maybe a casserole for a family that needs or has experienced a loss. Amy Carmichael and Mother Teresa are 2 people I've always admired and loved to read behind. I'll never forget not Amy Carmichael, but Mother Teresa said this. She said, we do no great things in life, only small things with great love. I'm Sandy, and I am called, and I am sent.